Milo woke up to the faint hum of the space station. The soft vibration of the machinery outside his window had been his alarm clock for as long as he could remember. He yawned, rubbed his eyes, and reached for the most important thing in his life after his tools, his coffee mug. The dark liquid sloshed gently as he took a long, satisfying sip. Mornings without coffee are like engines without fuel, Milo muttered to himself. He made his way to his small workshop, where hoverbikes, robotic arms, and half-finished gadgets crowded every surface. Sparks flew from a welding torch in the corner, painting the walls with streaks of orange light. Milo's messy hair bounced as he navigated through the organized chaos. He loved being a mechanic. There was something magical about fixing things, especially things that everyone else called impossible. Robots that refused to obey, hoverbikes that had lost their hum, and gadgets that seemed broken beyond repair. Milo could handle them all. But coffee, he reminded himself, was the secret ingredient. Without it, even the easiest repair seemed impossible. As Milo worked on a hoverbike, tightening a loose bolt, a small alarm beeped from the control panel above his workbench. It was a low, unusual beep, one he didn't recognize. Curious, he leaned closer, adjusting his glasses. A faint, pulsing energy signature blinked on the monitor, coming from the cargo bay. Huh. That's strange, Milo muttered. Nothing should be arriving today. He wiped his greasy hands on a rag and decided to check it out. The cargo bay was a few corridors down, and as he walked, the smell of warm metal and oil followed him like an old friend. When he arrived, the bay doors were opening slowly, and a small crate floated in, tethered to a hovering transport drone. The crate was labeled in bold letters, "Unknown Specimen. Handle with care." Milo raised an eyebrow. Unknown specimen, huh? Sounds like trouble. While other workers would have called security, Milo's curiosity got the better of him. He approached the crate, noticing tiny scratches along its surface and faint heat signatures pulsing from within. Whatever was inside was alive, and it was small. Very small. "All right, little mystery," Milo whispered, "let's see what you are." He carefully released the locks and opened the crate. At first, there was only darkness, then a tiny squeak, and a warm little nose poked out. Milo's eyes widened. A baby dragon, no bigger than a loaf of bread, stared at him with wide, glimmering eyes. Its scales shimmered softly, reflecting the light from the cargo bay. Tiny wings twitched as it tried to balance on its small legs. Milo crouched down slowly, not wanting to scare it. "Well, hello there," he said softly. "You're far from home, aren't you?" The dragon squeaked again and let out a small puff of smoke. Milo chuckled, leaning closer. "Cute little thing, aren't you? Don't worry, I'll take care of you." He picked up the dragon gently, feeling the warmth radiate from its tiny body. Its soft eyes blinked at him, and Milo felt an unexpected rush of responsibility. He had fixed machines all his life, but this was different. This was living, breathing magic. Milo's first instinct was to hide it. The space station was not ready for a baby dragon, and he had no idea who might be looking for it. He tucked the small creature into his coat and made his way back to the workshop, thinking fast. "Coffee first, dragon second," he muttered with a smile, setting the crate aside. "But maybe just a little snack for you too." He rummaged through drawers and found a soft piece of synthetic fabric to make a bed. He gave the little dragon a sip of warm milk, watching it lap it up with tiny, eager motions. Milo's heart warmed at the sight. He had fixed many things before, but nothing had ever made him feel this, alive. As the dragon settled down, Milo sat back in his chair and sipped his coffee, staring at the tiny creature curled up in front of him. There was a strange sense of destiny in the air, like something had led the dragon straight to him. Milo didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. Trouble was coming, and it would not be easy to avoid. The tiny dragon, innocent and helpless now, would soon change his life in ways he could never imagine. But for now, Milo allowed himself a rare moment of peace, sipping coffee and watching over the cutest little dragon he had ever seen. And deep inside, he couldn't help but think, well, this day just got a lot more interesting. Milo had just finished wiping his hands on a rag when a low, urgent alarm echoed through the workshop. He jumped, nearly spilling his coffee. The monitor blinked red, and a message scrolled across the screen: emergency cargo shipment arriving. Unknown contents. Priority landing. Milo frowned. Unknown again? Seriously? He took a careful sip of his coffee, letting the warmth settle him. Somehow, he had a feeling today was not going to be ordinary. The cargo bay doors opened with a mechanical groan, revealing a new shipment floating gently in the docking bay. Unlike the first crate with the baby dragon, this one pulsed with a soft, golden light. Milo's curiosity immediately pulled him closer. He could sense a small, rapid heartbeat inside the container. "Okay, what are you hiding?" Milo muttered. He peeked through the small viewport in the crate. To his surprise, it wasn't a machine, a robot, or even a strange plant. Inside was another tiny creature, barely bigger than Pip, the dragon he had just discovered. This one had smooth, shimmering scales and eyes that sparkled like stars. Milo froze. He had never seen anything like it. Somehow, the universe seemed to be placing these small, magical beings in his care. Milo's heart raced with excitement and worry at the same time. "Pip," Milo said softly, calling the baby dragon over. Pip wriggled happily from the blanket Milo had made, tiny wings fluttering. Milo set the crate carefully on a nearby platform. The small dragon's nose twitched as if sensing the other creature. Pip let out a tiny squeak, and the new creature responded with a faint chirp. Milo knelt down, observing them. "Looks like, you two might get along." Suddenly, a soft voice over the station intercom cut through the quiet. "Attention, crew. Priority alert. The station has detected unauthorized tracking signals in the docking area. All personnel are advised to secure valuable cargo." Milo's stomach sank. Tracking signals. That meant someone was already watching these creatures, maybe even following them. He looked at Pip, who tilted his head, curious but unaware of the danger. Milo clenched his fists. "Guess we can't just sit here and sip coffee, huh?" he muttered. He knew the station well. Narrow corridors, maintenance tunnels, and hidden platforms offered many ways to evade intruders. Milo quickly hatched a plan. He would secure both creatures and hide them while he figured out what was really going on. He carefully placed the shimmering creature into a small, padded container he had built for delicate equipment. Milo whispered reassuringly, "Don't worry, I'll keep you safe." Pip curled up next to the new companion, instinctively protecting it with tiny, trembling wings. Milo smiled at their bond. Somehow, he felt a rush of determination. He wouldn't let anyone take them. Using his engineering skills, Milo began creating a temporary hiding spot in the workshop. He repurposed an old supply cabinet, adding a small magnetic lock and a noise-canceling shield. It wasn't perfect, but it would be enough to hide the creatures until he could think of something better. As Milo worked, he noticed something unusual. The new creature's scales emitted a faint, pulsing light whenever Pip was nearby. It was as if the two were communicating silently, sharing energy and trust. Milo marveled at the connection, realizing that he was not just a mechanic, he was now the guardian of something extraordinary. A sudden shadow passed across the workshop floor. Milo froze, coffee in hand. He turned slowly and saw a figure lurking at the far end of the corridor. The person was wearing a sleek, dark suit, clearly designed for stealth. Milo's heart raced. The intruder must have been tracking the signal from the new creature's crate. Milo didn't panic. Instead, He quietly gestured for Pip and the new creature to stay hidden. The intruder scanned the room, their eyes sharp, and then moved on, missing Milo's clever hiding spot entirely. Milo exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of relief and adrenaline. "Close one," Milo muttered, finally taking another sip of coffee. "Looks like someone really wants you to." He knew one thing for certain, this was only the beginning. Whatever the intruder wanted, Milo couldn't let them take the creatures. He had to stay one step ahead, using his wits, his tools, and yes, his beloved coffee. As the sun-like lights of the space station reflected off the metal walls, Milo looked down at Pip and the tiny new companion. Their eyes met his, filled with trust and curiosity. Milo smiled, feeling a strange sense of destiny. "You're lucky you found me," he said softly. "And don't worry. I've got a plan. No one's taking you from me." The small dragons chirped in response, as if agreeing. Milo chuckled, feeling a warmth in his chest he had never felt before. Today, a mechanic with a coffee addiction had become the unlikely protector of the cutest, most magical creatures in the galaxy. And somewhere deep inside, Milo knew that the adventures and the dangers were only just beginning. Milo could feel the tension in the air. The station, usually filled with the low hum of machines and chatter of workers, now felt strangely quiet. He glanced at Pip, the tiny dragon curled in his hands, and at the new creature, blinking curiously from its padded container. Both seemed innocent and fragile, but Milo knew better. Out there, danger was waiting. He set the creatures down gently on a soft mat he had prepared. "All right, you two," he said, "we need to think fast. Someone is tracking you. And if they find you, well, I don't want to even imagine that." Milo walked over to his workbench, grabbing a set of small tools and a few spare parts. He had always loved inventing gadgets, but this time, he had a mission. Not to fix a machine, but to protect living, breathing creatures from people who would exploit them. He started with a small, portable shield. Using reflective panels and his knowledge of sensors, Milo built a device that could hide the creature's heat and light signatures. Pip watched curiously, tiny wings twitching. The new creature peeped, leaning forward as if to understand what Milo was doing. "There," Milo said after a few tense minutes. "This should make it harder for anyone to track you. Hopefully." Just as he finished, a soft alarm from the station echoed through the corridor. Milo's heart skipped a beat. He peeked through the workshop window and saw shadows moving outside. The intruders had returned, and this time, they weren't just sneaking, they were searching. Milo's mind raced. He couldn't fight them head on, they were too many, and he was only one man. But he could be clever. He could use the station itself as a tool, turning every corridor, every moving platform, every maintenance hatch into a trap. "Okay, Pip, time to help your new friend," Milo whispered. The baby dragon chirped softly, almost as if understanding. Milo grabbed a small device from his bench, a gadget that could emit loud, confusing noises. He hid it under a crate and tested it. A sudden series of high-pitched sounds echoed through the hall, startling a passing worker who quickly scurried away. Milo grinned. "Perfect," he muttered. "If I can just slow them down a little, we might have a chance." Milo began setting up clever distractions throughout the workshop. He attached small, sticky pads to the floor that made heavy footsteps nearly silent, placed mirrors to reflect the intruders' flashlights in confusing patterns, and even rigged a few magnetic plates that could pull small metal objects out of the intruders' hands. All of this was done with one eye on the creatures, making sure they were safe and calm. By now, the intruders were inside the workshop. Milo pressed himself against a support beam, holding Pip close. The baby dragon chirped nervously, wings twitching. Milo whispered soothing words. "It's okay, little one. Just stay calm." The intruders were clever, but Milo was cleverer. As they moved closer to the padded container with the new creature, Milo triggered a small smoke-emitting device. Thick, harmless smoke filled the room, obscuring the intruder's vision. They coughed and waved their hands, unsure of which way to go. Pip let out a small puff of fire in excitement, not enough to hurt anyone, but enough to startle the intruders further. Milo's eyes sparkled with determination. "Good job, Pip," he said, smiling. The tiny dragon's sparks created brief flashes of light, helping Milo see the intruders without being seen himself. The intruders stumbled and argued among themselves, frustrated by the confusing traps Milo had set up. They hadn't expected a coffee-addicted mechanic to be so prepared. Milo quietly moved the creatures to a hidden maintenance tunnel, following the faint route he had memorized years ago. Pip perched on Milo's shoulder, tiny claws gripping lightly, while the new creature peeked out from its container, curious but calm. Finally, Milo reached a small, unused storage room. He barricaded the door with heavy crates and checked the creatures. Pip nuzzled Milo's neck, chirping happily despite the tension. The new creature blinked, its scales glowing softly, almost as if thanking him. Milo took a deep breath, holding his coffee tightly. "We made it, for now," he whispered. He knew the danger wasn't over. The intruders would not give up easily. But Milo also knew something else: he was not just a mechanic anymore. He was a protector, a guardian. And with clever thinking, gadgets, and a little help from coffee, he could outsmart anyone who threatened the creatures. Looking at Pip and the new companion, Milo smiled. "Tomorrow, we find a better plan. For now, rest. We've got each other, and that's enough." As he sipped his coffee, the small dragons curled close, safe for the moment. Milo's mind was already buzzing with ideas for the next steps. He didn't know what fate had in store, but he was ready. He had survived worse engines, stranger problems, and now, he had magic and friendship on his side. And somehow, Milo thought, that made all the difference. Milo peeked through a small vent in the storage room, listening carefully. The intruders were still searching the workshop, their footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. He knew it was only a matter of time before they discovered the maintenance tunnel he had used as a hiding place. Pip, the tiny dragon, perched on Milo's shoulder, tiny claws gripping his shirt. The new creature huddled in its padded container, blinking at Milo with wide, trusting eyes. Both were silent now, sensing that danger was near. Milo's mind raced. He had to think fast. "All right, team," he whispered, "we need to move before they find us. And we need to be clever." Milo led the way through the narrow maintenance tunnels. Pipes hummed, and small lights flickered along the walls, casting long shadows. He had memorized these tunnels years ago while fixing station machinery, but now they were his escape route. The first challenge came quickly. A security drone rounded the corner, its scanning light sweeping the tunnel. Milo crouched behind a pipe and whispered, "Pip, now." Pip let out a tiny puff of fire. It was barely more than a spark, but it reflected off the metal walls and created a confusing pattern of shadows. The drone's sensors blinked, and it paused, unsure of what it had detected. Milo seized the moment, slipping past the drone with the new creature tucked under his arm. As they moved deeper into the tunnels, Milo realized the intruders were not far behind. He could hear their voices echoing, frustrated and angry. "Where did they go?" one shouted. "Check the maintenance tunnels." Milo grinned. "They'll never catch us." He pressed a small button on a gadget he had carried in his pocket, a mini magnetic device. Suddenly, loose panels along the tunnel floor slid slightly, making the intruders stumble and lose their footing. A few metal tools clattered to the ground, adding to the confusion. Pip chirped happily, enjoying the little sparks and noises. The new creature made soft peeping sounds, and Milo realized they were both learning how to help. The creatures were not just cute, they were clever, too. The chase grew more intense as the tunnels twisted and turned. Milo ducked under low pipes, jumped over small gaps, and used every trick he knew to slow the intruders. At one point, he activated a panel that sprayed a harmless, sticky foam, causing one of the pursuers to get tangled. Milo stifled a laugh. Coffee and clever thinking were better than weapons any day. Finally, they reached a wide service platform overlooking the lower docking area. Milo paused, breathing heavily, with Pip fluttering anxiously on his shoulder. The new creature peeked from its container, clearly aware they were almost out in the open. "All right, one last trick," Milo muttered. He grabbed a pair of mirrors from his bag and angled them to reflect the platform lights, creating dozens of confusing flashes across the walls and floor. The intruders below stopped in their tracks, shielding their eyes from the bright reflections. Milo didn't waste a second. He activated a small hoverboard he had modified earlier, strapping the new creature securely on top. "Hold tight," he yelled. Pip immediately leapt onto his shoulder as Milo pushed off the edge of the platform. The hoverboard glided smoothly through the air, weaving past hanging cables and machinery. The intruders shouted in frustration, unable to follow. Milo's clever modifications, combined with the creature's help, made him nearly impossible to catch. He weaved through corridors, dipped under moving platforms, and even used small maintenance elevators to change levels. Finally, Milo found a narrow ventilation shaft, large enough to squeeze through. He slid the hoverboard inside, carefully holding the new creature and letting Pip cling to his back. The intruders reached the entrance of the shaft but found it blocked by a heavy panel Milo had wedged into place earlier. They pounded on it in frustration, but Milo and the creatures were safe for now. Inside the shaft, Milo caught his breath. He looked at Pip and the new creature. Both were panting slightly, but their eyes sparkled with excitement. Milo smiled, ruffling Pip's tiny head. "You both did amazing. I couldn't have done this without you." Pip chirped happily, and the new creature made a soft, joyful sound. Milo realized that their teamwork had made the impossible possible. Coffee and gadgets had helped, yes, but courage, clever thinking, and trust had made the real difference. Milo knew this was only the beginning. The intruders would not give up easily. They would come back, stronger and smarter. But Milo also knew that with Pip and the new creature by his side, he had a chance. They could outthink anyone. As he navigated the ventilation shafts toward a safer part of the station, Milo took a careful sip of coffee. Warmth spread through him, calming his racing heart. "One step at a time," he whispered. "We're not done yet, but we're clever, and we're fast. That's all we need." For the first time since the chase began, Milo felt a sense of hope. He was not just a mechanic anymore. He was a protector, a strategist, and a friend to the most extraordinary creatures in the galaxy. And together, they would face whatever came next. The tiny dragons chirped softly, nestled safely against Milo, ready for the next challenge. Milo crouched in a small alcove deep within the station's ventilation system, holding Pip close. The new creature rested in a padded container beside him, blinking softly in the dim light. Milo could hear the intruders searching below, their voices angry and frustrated. "They're not giving up," Milo muttered, taking a cautious sip of coffee. "But neither are we." He looked at Pip, who nuzzled his neck, wings fluttering slightly. Milo smiled. "We're going to have to be clever, really clever." Milo's mind raced. He had already used traps, smoke, mirrors, and sticky floors, but the intruders were persistent. He needed something more, something unexpected. He scanned the maintenance area for materials he could use. Loose panels, spare tools, wires, even a few old drone parts, all of it could be turned into an advantage. He grabbed a set of small mirrors and arranged them along the corridor where he expected the intruders to appear. The mirrors reflected the station lights in a chaotic pattern, creating dozens of confusing flashes. Milo added a couple of sound devices, tiny speakers rigged to mimic footsteps and machinery noises. Any intruder entering the corridor would be completely disoriented. Next, he prepared a smoke bomb, a harmless, but thick, fog that could fill a large room in seconds. Milo placed it in a corner near a heavy storage crate. Pip chirped excitedly, as if encouraging him. Milo laughed softly. "I like your attitude, little buddy." The plan was risky. If the intruders saw through it, they could corner him. But Milo trusted his gadgets, his instincts, and now, his unusual companions. He had learned one important thing: even a coffee-addicted mechanic could outsmart fate when he stayed calm and thought creatively. The intruders arrived sooner than expected. They moved cautiously, scanning for Milo and the creatures. Milo held his breath as their footsteps echoed through the corridor. When they reached the mirrored section, the reflections made it nearly impossible to see clearly. Flashing lights bounced off every surface, confusing them. One intruder swung a flashlight wildly, only to be blinded by his own reflection. "That's it?" Milo whispered to Pip. "Time for phase 2. He pressed a hidden button, activating the sound devices. Footsteps echoed from multiple directions, accompanied by strange mechanical noises. The intruders turned in circles, unsure which way to go. Milo smiled behind the panel, heart racing with excitement. He had turned the entire corridor into a maze of illusions. Suddenly, one intruder tried to move toward Milo's hiding spot. Pip let out a tiny puff of fire, not enough to hurt anyone but enough to startle the intruder. The man stumbled backward, tripping over a loose panel Milo had prepared earlier. Milo couldn't help but chuckle quietly. Even Pip's little sparks were useful. With the intruders distracted, Milo moved swiftly, carrying the new creature and letting Pip perch on his shoulder. He led them down a maintenance elevator to a lower level, carefully closing the doors behind them. The intruders were still caught in the maze of mirrors, smoke, and sound, and Milo knew he had a short window to escape. They reached a small service corridor that opened into a storage bay filled with old crates and equipment. Milo's eyes lit up with an idea. He grabbed a few crates, stacked them cleverly, and rigged a pulley system he had built earlier. With a quick tug, the crates toppled over, creating a barrier between them and the intruders. "Good job, Pip," Milo whispered. The baby dragon chirped happily, wings flapping in excitement. The new creature blinked at him, scales glowing softly in approval. Milo smiled. "See? Teamwork always wins." He led the creatures to a narrow maintenance hatch, just large enough for them to crawl through. Milo crawled first, then lifted the new creature through, and finally helped Pip squeeze through. On the other side was a small, hidden tunnel that led toward the station's observation deck, a place the intruders would never think to search. As they moved through the tunnel, Milo reflected on what had happened. Fate had brought these creatures to him, yes, but he had chosen how to respond. He hadn't panicked. He hadn't given up. He had thought, planned, and acted. And now, against all odds, they were still free. Finally, they reached the observation deck. Milo set the creatures down and leaned back against the wall, breathing heavily. Pip curled up at his feet, wings folded neatly, while the new creature explored the edge of the platform curiously. The view outside the station was breathtaking, a vast expanse of stars, glowing planets, and distant nebulae. Milo couldn't help but smile. "We did it," he whispered. "We outsmarted them, at least for now." Pip chirped in agreement, hopping onto Milo's shoulder again. The new creature blinked up at him, scales shimmering in the starlight. Milo realized that this tiny duo had become more than just companions. They were friends, allies, and a source of inspiration. "Tomorrow, we'll figure out what to do next," Milo said softly, taking a careful sip of coffee. "For now, rest. We've earned it." As he watched the stars outside, Milo felt a sense of pride and hope. The intruders might come back, and the universe might throw more challenges their way, but he knew one thing: clever thinking, courage, and teamwork could overcome almost anything. And with Pip and the new creature by his side, he was ready for whatever came next. Milo stared out at the vast expanse of space from the observation deck. Stars twinkled like tiny diamonds, and distant planets glowed softly in the darkness. He took a deep breath, holding Pip close and keeping the new creature secure in his arms. For the first time since the chase began, Milo allowed himself a small moment of calm. "We need to get somewhere safe," Milo said softly. "Someplace far from the intruders, somewhere they can't find us." He thought about the hidden planets he had read about in old star charts, a few remote worlds known for being uninhabited or protected by natural barriers. One in particular came to mind: Lyria, a small planet covered in forests and sparkling lakes, rumored to be a sanctuary for rare creatures. Milo knew it would be perfect for Pip and the new creature. "All right, team," Milo said, adjusting the new creature in his arms. "We're going on a little trip." The mechanic hurried to his workshop, gathering tools, spare parts, and a few gadgets he had improvised during the chase. He also packed food and water for the creatures, knowing they would need energy for the journey. Pip chirped happily, flapping wings excitedly, as if understanding that an adventure awaited. The new creature peeped softly, eyes wide and curious. Milo climbed into his small spacecraft, a compact ship he had built years ago for quick repairs and deliveries. The cockpit was cluttered with levers, buttons, and blinking monitors, but Milo knew every inch of it. With the creatures safely inside, he started the engines. The gentle hum grew louder as the ship lifted off, leaving the station behind. As they traveled through space, Milo marveled at the view. Nebulae glowed in brilliant colors, comets streaked across the sky, and distant planets rotated slowly in the void. Pip rested on Milo's shoulder, occasionally peeking at the controls with curiosity. The new creature had grown comfortable too, curling up in a cozy corner Milo had prepared. "This is going to be okay," Milo whispered, sipping coffee to calm his nerves. "We're almost there." But space travel was never simple. About halfway to Lyria, Milo encountered a field of asteroid debris. He swerved and twisted the small ship, dodging floating rocks with skill honed from years of repairs and improvisation. Pip flapped in excitement, clinging tightly, while the new creature's scales glimmered with faint light, reacting to the vibrations of the ship. "Good job, you two," Milo said with a grin. "We make a great team." After what felt like hours, Milo finally saw the first signs of Lyria. The planet's forests glowed faintly, and its lakes reflected the starlight beautifully. Milo guided the ship through the atmosphere, landing carefully in a hidden clearing surrounded by tall trees. The creatures chirped and peeped in delight, clearly enjoying the new surroundings. Milo stepped out of the spacecraft, letting Pip hop down and the new creature explore the soft grass. He looked around at the quiet sanctuary. Birds with shimmering feathers flitted between trees, and small streams bubbled peacefully nearby. Milo smiled. This place was perfect, a safe haven where the creatures could live without fear. "All right, this will be your home, for now," Milo said softly. Pip chirped happily, running in small circles, and the new creature climbed onto a smooth rock, looking around with wide eyes. Milo laughed quietly. He spent the rest of the day setting up a cozy shelter for them. He used spare panels from the spacecraft to build a small roof, added soft mats, and even created a tiny play area for the dragons. Milo realized that although he loved machines, nothing compared to the joy of helping living creatures feel safe and happy. As night fell, Milo sat near the creatures, sipping his coffee and gazing at the stars. Pip curled up on his lap, tiny wings folded neatly, while the new creature nestled beside him. Milo felt a warmth in his heart he had never known before. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore, he was a protector, a friend, and a guardian. "We did it," he whispered softly. "We made it here. And nobody can take you from me now." The baby dragons chirped softly, as if thanking him, and Milo smiled. He knew the intruders might still be out there somewhere, but Lyria's hidden location and natural defenses would keep them safe for now. Milo's clever thinking, quick gadgets, and the creature's own abilities had brought them here, and he felt proud. As he watched the stars twinkle over the forested hills, Milo thought about what lay ahead. There would be more adventures, more challenges, and more surprises. But for tonight, they were safe. And that was all that mattered. "Tomorrow," Milo whispered, "we explore, we learn, and we have fun. For now, sleep. We've earned it." Pip yawned and snuggled closer, and the new creature blinked sleepily. Milo smiled, finishing his coffee and leaning back against a tree. For the first time in days, everything felt right. And deep inside, Milo knew that this was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey for him, Pip, and the new creature. The first rays of Lyria's sun filtered through the tall, shimmering trees. Milo stretched, blinking as the soft light touched his face. Pip stirred on his shoulder, tiny wings twitching, while the new creature yawned and stretched, its scales glinting in the morning light. Milo smiled. For the first time in days, everything felt calm and peaceful. He stepped outside the small shelter he had built, taking a deep breath of the fresh, fragrant air. Birds with sparkling feathers sang cheerful songs, and the gentle flow of a nearby stream created a soothing melody. Milo looked down at Pip, who chirped happily, hopping along the grass. The new creature explored curiously, sniffing flowers and tilting its head at the fluttering leaves. Milo laughed quietly. "You two are going to love it here." The mechanic spent the morning exploring the nearby forest with Pip perched on his shoulder and the new creature following closely. He discovered small caves, sparkling pools, and hidden paths that would be perfect for the dragons to play and explore. Milo even found a few old mechanical tools left behind by previous travelers, which he planned to use to improve their shelter and make life on Lyria easier. As they walked, Milo reflected on everything that had happened. Fate had brought these creatures to him, yes, but it was his own courage, clever thinking, and determination that had kept them safe. He realized something important: no matter how small or unexpected the challenge, he could face it if he used his mind and heart. By midday, Milo returned to their shelter and prepared a small area for food and water. Pip immediately darted over, chirping excitedly, while the new creature hopped onto a soft mat, watching Milo carefully. The mechanic smiled as he filled tiny bowls with milk, fruit, and a few small treats he had packed from the spacecraft. "This is home," Milo said softly, watching the creatures eat. "You're safe here. Nobody can hurt you." As the day passed, Milo worked on small improvements around the shelter. He fixed a leaky roof, installed a few small wind-powered lights, and even built a tiny play area for Pip and the new creature. The baby dragons chirped and squeaked with excitement, exploring each new invention Milo created. He couldn't help but laugh at their energy and curiosity. When evening came, Milo sat on a small rock near the stream, sipping his coffee and watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. Pip curled up on his lap, resting its tiny head on his knee, while the new creature nestled beside him. Milo felt a warmth in his heart that he had never known before. "You know," he whispered, "I never thought I'd be a guardian for magical creatures. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. You two have changed my life." The dragons chirped softly, as if responding, and Milo smiled. He knew that adventures still awaited them. Intruders might still exist in the galaxy, and there would be challenges ahead. But for now, they were safe. And that was enough. As night fell, Milo built a small fire in a safe area near the shelter. The flames flickered, casting dancing shadows on the trees, and Milo sat back, enjoying the warmth. Pip and the new creature played nearby, their laughter like chirps echoing softly in the quiet forest. Milo realized that even in the vastness of space, friendship and cleverness could create a home anywhere. He leaned back, finishing the last sip of his coffee, and gazed up at the stars beginning to appear in Lyria's night sky. "We've come a long way," he whispered. "And we'll go further. Together." The baby dragons chirped again, fluttering close to Milo as if agreeing. He laughed quietly, ruffling Pip's tiny head. The new creature nuzzled him gently, scales glowing faintly in the firelight. Milo felt a sense of pride and contentment unlike anything he had experienced before. He knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was full of mysteries, adventures, and challenges, but Milo also knew that with courage, clever thinking, and the friendship of Pip and the new creature, they could face anything. Milo yawned and lay down on a soft patch of grass, Pip curling up on his chest and the new creature beside him. The gentle sounds of the forest and the soft glow of Lyria's moon created a perfect, peaceful atmosphere. Milo closed his eyes, feeling safe, happy, and ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. Somewhere deep in his heart, Milo smiled. He was no longer just a coffee-addicted mechanic. He was a protector, a friend, and a hero in his own quiet way. And with Pip and the new creature by his side, life had never been more exciting or more full of possibility. As sleep took him, Milo knew one thing for certain: their journey together had just begun. The galaxy was vast, but with friendship, courage, and a little cleverness, they could face anything. And together, they would make every moment count.